and feel like
Hey, you guys, welcome to Kitchen Table Talk Live with SpillitBoyTV. Listen, grab a seat because I want to talk to you all about fashions and shootouts. Baby, listen, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah, what does all that stuff have to do with each other? Fashions and shootouts. Real Housewives of Atlanta. I want to talk about when the reality drama actually makes it off screen. And it's literally reality drama, no television involved. Listen, two stories, short ones. We're not going to be here long. We're not going to be here long, but I just have some concerns. I was really taken back by some of this. I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with Kandi Burruss. Naturally, we're talking Real Housewives of Atlanta. She's the big fish over there. Her and Kenya, of course. But we talk about Kandi. Kandi has a little issue going on here. This past Wednesday, on September the 7th, there was a shooting at her restaurant that's off Cascade Road there in Atlanta, Georgia, at Blaze Steak and Seafood. There was a shooting. Two of the employees actually got into an altercation where, it just got so out of hand to the point where one of them took out a gun and actually shot the other. It actually, where it got so like weird, her cousin slash godson, Melvin, for those of you who actually watched Kandi and the Gang, her spinoff program that actually chronicled her O.L.G restaurants, you would know Melvin. Melvin actually stars on Kandi and the Gang. He is her Aunt Bertha's grandson. Okay, he's her godson, and he's naturally her first cousin. But he was one of the people who was involved. He was the one who actually got shot in the arm. Thank goodness Melvin he's gone to the hospital and nothing life threatening. Melvin's doing okay. But the suspect actually hasn't been picked up or arrested or anything as far as when to right now. I've heard nothing of him actually being picked up. So this is just kind of going on. Kandi and Todd, her husband, Todd Tucker, they haven't actually said anything. They're kind of just staying low and kind of quiet on the situation. This is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Where do you think you're going to go to a restaurant and Melvin's a cook? Now, I can't imagine he's doing anything else over at Blaze other than cooking because that's what he does. He's a chef. That you're at a restaurant, you're trying to eat, and somebody's shooting the chef. Like, I mean, shooting the chef. And it's so bad because, again, over at the O.L.G, over at East Point, the East Point location in 2020, early 2020, there were 3 people shot. So this just doesn't look good. And you think Kandi has a lot of money. Kandi has a lot of businesses. It gets to a point where you're like, is it even worth it? Is it even worth it? And what is really going on at these restaurants that this type of stuff? I mean, restaurants is not a place where you see metal detectors. It's not a place where you see security guard and bouncers. And from what I've never been to Blaze nor O.L.G, but from what I'm being told, O.L.G, the neighborhood, not so great. But Blaze is, from my understanding, in a decent area where it's supposedly a more upscale type of experience when you go to Blaze. But they over at Blaze, baby, shooting the chef. So I don't know. This makes me nervous for Kandi and Todd. They got to do something. They have to do something. And I know you. How much can you really hold this against Kandi? She don't work at the restaurant. She doesn't work at the restaurant, and people kind of just do what people do. But she's always going to be the one that's liable for whatever goes down. The last thing that you want is somebody actually being killed. Who even thinks of that when you're sitting down doing your plans for a restaurant? Are you really thinking, I got to make sure I have insurance to cover in case somebody get murked up in this restaurant? Nobody thinks that, I'm sure. Like, that's the furthest thing from my mind. When there at one point there was some stuff with the health department and stuff like that at the restaurant, and then she, came in and cleared that up. And the fact that she is Kandi Burruss, it blew up to be such a big deal that it was actually being talked about. Yes, totally embarrassing. But again, these things happen. But the fact that she is the Kandi Burruss and she's on Bravo for weeks and weeks at a time every year, you know what I mean? That it blew up to be something really big. But this right here, you don't see this coming. But again, what do? I don't want to. If I go to a restaurant and they have security and bouncers, I'll be like, I don't know if I want to eat here. What they got going on here? What do they have going on here? When I go to a restaurant, I never think about actually being shot up. I don't. I just don't. That's just not one of the things that comes across my mind when I go to a restaurant, especially when a steak and seafood place is supposedly a little bit more upscale. No, I'm not really thinking I'm gonna have to be ducking and dodging bullets. So I don't know. And I said the thing is, you don't want to be listed as like a nuisance bar because that's like you don't have to worry about what to do with it because the city will shut you down. Now, it happened in two different establishments, but both establishments are hers. So it's like, come on, seriously, in a 2 year time, you got two shootings. That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all. And then my other thing that came across my mind is, what about the show Kandi and the Gang? Is this going to hinder it? I absolutely love the show. I watched the show, I reviewed the show, I enjoyed every moment of the show. But is this little situation going to hinder Bravo from wanting to deal with the show? You know what I mean? It doesn't take much to make a network pull out from you and be like, you know what? Not worth it. Not worth it. No network is trying to get a body. And I know Todd and Kandi ain't trying to get nobody. So I just don't know how to fix this. Like, I don't know what steps they will take to fix this. This is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And there really isn't a lot of information. Even the whole thing, like, is that child going to come for his last check? Because of course, at this point, you done shot her cousin. I'm sure you're fired. I'm sure you're fired. But will he be bold enough to come and pick up his last check? I'm being facetious, but I mean, really? I mean, he was bold enough to whip his piece out and blast on the cousin. Are you going to be bold enough to come back and demand your last check? Because you'll probably need it for commissary anyway. Anyway, moving on. You all leave it in the comments. Tell me what you think. What are some of the steps do you think may actually take place? What are some of the detriments to Kandi and Todd do you think may actually happen? Let's have a conversation. Put it down there in the chat. I'm really interested to see what my people would have to say about where they think this is actually going to go. Definitely, I will keep my ear to the street to, anything that comes out and add to this story. This is crazy. This is crazy to me. Crazy. Now let's move on. Let's move on. And I wore this for a reason. Are you bold and extra gifted? Are you bold and extra gifted? I like to think I am. Okay, bold and extra gifted. And yes, see, we're going to talk She By Sheree. Okay, we'll talk She By Sheree. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to fashion is people who don't really have that as a skill set. They don't have that as a skill set. Sheree Whitfield is in my opinion, she is a reality star. She is a personality. So her name holds weight. Okay. Her name holds weight in the reality show world, which means that she's good to promote a brand. But I get a little peeved when people start calling themselves designers when exactly what makes a designer? You don't sew, you don't sketch, you don't actually design anything. All I know of She By Sheree, my idea of what She By Sheree is it's a brand that Sheree basically lends her name to. And she happens to own the brand too. So she's the ambassador and the brand owner. But really, the whole fashion design thing is not in your skill set. So this all I said all of that to say this. This is why you have the problems you have. Now, we know She By Sheree came along like 14 years ago. We started hearing about She By Sheree on the Real Housewives of Atlanta on the show. She said she's going to do this line. And it never popped off. She did this whole thing. She had this whole fashion show set up. The fashions never show up. It's always an issue about getting the samples and all of this kind of carried on. It didn't show up. And one of the main lines, one of the main one-liners from Real Housewives of Atlanta is a fashion show without fashions. How dreadful. That will go down in history as one of the major one-liners, and that was given by the Dwight Eubanks. Okay, he gave that one-liner, baby, and it's stuck, and everybody knows it, honey. A fashion show with no fashions. How dreadful. And it was funny. It was funny, but not all at the same time. But see, you have the same problem. She left the show, and now she's back on the show, and your storyline is the same. We still screaming She By Sheree all season long. She By Sheree. Now we like Sheree. Okay, so we laughed and we dragged Sheree. We did. We laughed and we dragged Sheree, but it was really lighthearted shade. She's made appearances in the past throughout this 14 years. Girl, when is it coming out? April, no more May, no more September. Oh, next September. It's always an ongoing running joke at her expense. Okay. So here's where we are 14 years later. Now the joke's not funny anymore. It's not funny anymore. Either you gonna crap or get off the pot. And we're gonna help you. We're rooting for you. We want you to win. And we did this season. We all were rooting for Sheree. Like literally, we're rooting for. She seemed like she was really getting on top of things and really being serious about it. And we were rooting. Now, I even gave her some rah-rah sis kumbah in my reviews. But still, at the helm of it, this stuff here, that's not Sheree. You're not bold and extra gifted as pertains to fashion design. You're not a designer. You're a personality. And just literally those 14 years, if you had taken some time to take a few little lessons and try to actually, because see, I don't believe you actually have a love for fashion. I think you see an opportunity to possibly swing your name around and make a little money. And listen, when you're not really, everything doesn't work as fake it till you make it. And fashion is one of them. You either have it or you don't. And that's kind of the way it works. If you would have used those 14 years to go learn how to do something or see if it actually could be in your box of skills, you wouldn't have had this problem. This whole situation, there was issues with getting the samples yet again. See, I wouldn't have a problem with getting samples because I know how to sew. Most designers don't sew, but they know how. If need be, they can sit down and sew. If they got to get it out the dirt, they'll get it out the dirt themselves. I'll go right up on their sewing machine and whip up them samples and get it done. But see, you have all these issues because you don't know how to sew. You don't know how to sew. So that's why you ran into all these problems and then you had no backup plan. You know why? Because it's not in your arsenal. It's not in your arsenal. Any real designer has that generally as a backup. Any designer worth having, I said it. Because I don't know how you call yourself a designer. Even if you're not the best sewer, you have to have some type of knowledge of how things are put together to even sit down and call yourself designing. How do you know what works if you don't know what things look like when they're not together? If you don't know anything about construction, you're not going to be an effective designer. That's just the way it is. You can't fake that. It just is what it is. And this right here didn't have to be a problem. Anyway, so she ended up getting this designer. The designer actually, there was issues with the designer's payment. That's again all on Sheree. You ain't pay right, allegedly, and you ain't get your stuff. Then they did bring the stuff. Now you can't duplicate it. I heard issues about the designer won't give up the patterns and stuff because you ain't paid naturally. No pay, no way. Go away. Okay. Then there was this whole thing of her literally ordering off of Sheen, allegedly getting these basic items, and then basically, adding her logos to them. Okay, that is part of the industry. That's fine. That's fine. But that's not what you show. See, you're supposed to be doing this exclusive brand of uh leisure and workout wear. It's like a mix, like a hybrid of leisure and workout wear. And that was what made She By Sheree special, is that it's different. So She By Sheree can't be what you told us She By Sheree is if you order in basic pieces from Shein and then putting your logos on them. Because the stuff at Shein is not exclusive. It's basic. It's run of the mill. So it's not really those things that you showed in that show, because the things that you showed in the show were actually done by an actual designer from New York. And then you didn't do your business right. And so you can't, the business can't go forth. Then you go ahead and right after that, they get the show together. Okay. So she was able to pull that off on Bravo. She pulled the show together. So it's supposed to be this big bang. Everybody's rating. They want to buy the stuff, but you don't really have the stuff. And then boom, all of a sudden, here we go. The website crashes the night of the finale. The website crashes, and now it's just excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. Then there's drama with the designer that came forth, and now it's just a fit of embarrassment. Whereas back before, years ago, it was a little embarrassing, but it was really lighthearted, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Oh, girl, it'll be okay. Now it's embarrassment, and you're being clowned. Like when I say being dragged all over the internet, mortified. I couldn't even imagine. Mortifying. And everybody's given. I think that, I don't know. Will She By Sheree recover? Once because she can pull this together. It's all about spending a little money and pull this together. You see, there's a fan base. For the website to crash, there was somebody out there wanting to support you. And the shame of it all is there are designers who would love to have that support and that fan base trying to buy their items and they could produce it and you didn't even think enough of it to make sure that you even had it ready for the people. You know, it's just ridiculous. And at this point, no, me personally, I don't feel sorry for Sheree at this point. You clowned. As goes with fashion and fashion design, you've laughed. You basically have played in the face of the whole that whole job. You just played in the face like you're not a designer. You don't even have the attitude of a designer. I don't even know, do you even have the sense to be embarrassed at this point? I'm embarrassed for you. I don't know if you got enough sense to be embarrassed. This was such a missed opportunity. It really, really was. But again, it was set up to fail from the beginning because being a designer ain't in your wheelhouse. It's not part of your skill set. It was a joke from the beginning. But listen, I like a laugh. So I walked the joke with you. But I mean, this was just ridiculous. This was just ridiculous. So here's my question to you all. What's actually worse? What's worse? Was the fashion show not happening in the past? Or was it the fashion show happening and then you pressing bogus information into the public? And then when the public goes to support you, womp womp. Which one was more embarrassing? The fashion show without any fashions or the fashion show with the fashions that can't be purchased? You all tell me down there in the comments. Listen, like I said, I won't hold you long. Let me get on up out of here. But this is crazy how reality show drama, the real reality drama, the drama off the show and off the television are worse than the stuff that's actually being sold and shown on the television. Because I think this is definitely the real reality is definitely a bit more mortifying than what we see on Sundays at 8 p.m. What you going to do? What you going to do? Listen, have a ball. Go down there in those comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'm dying to hear from you all. And listen, be bold, be extra, and be gifted. Don't pretend to be gifted. Be gifted. Talk to y'all later.
And feel like